I'm sorry, Ms. Walker, you can begin now.
No, not at all. We all started at one place, and we've quickly moved to another place that most of us consider to be extreme. With every postponement, delay, and committee or staff meeting, additional regulations have been introduced, which is the goal of the anti-STR groups. They want to bombard you with restrictions in an attempt to make you feel as if you need to make compromises on at least some of their many, many proposals. The problem is the line of acceptable and normal keeps getting moved to the anti-STR side. And it's making things that 2 years ago none of you would have ever considered as Austin residents, council members, or any part of this process. It's making them seem acceptable because we've been through so much. We go from someone saying, I recommend this, which everyone says, that's too strong of an action, to, okay, well, at least let's have a committee discuss it. This is a very good method on council, because what then happens is everyone goes, okay, well, that sounds like it's at least a compromise. So let's have a committee or staff discuss it. And then it comes back, this is staff's recommendation, which is a very powerful statement in this room, apparently. Is that the problem is in that the question was changed from, is this reasonable, to what version of this are we going to choose? I would like to point out the two main questions that have changed in their line from council to committee to staff back to council. From, is this certificate of occupancy that the city issued legit or good enough, to, let's require forced inspections every 3 years. From, how do we enforce the current rules, to, let's limit the number of guests with a blanket number, not considering the effectiveness, enforceability, or many, many factors that could go into the number of people that would be reasonable in a given situation. I want to speak personally for a minute. I came here first many years ago when we were first all getting registered and all getting behind having enforceable rules and getting rid of these party houses. I have a 6-bedroom home that I only allow families to utilize. I've never had a complaint. My neighbors love me. They're able to utilize my home when they have overflow of their families visiting. I pay my taxes. I play by the rules, and I have since day one. I first spoke to council years ago about this house and how I was attempting to keep my home. This is my dream home. If you put a blanket 6 on my home, it is going to affect my use personally, and I'm not a minority. There are a lot of large homes that can accommodate more people. You would never put these restrictions on a hotel, yet you want to treat us like a hotel. You would never put these restrictions on a house, yet you want to treat us like a house. We have to make some decisions that actually make sense here. If you do that to me, you are literally forcing me out of a home that I have been fighting to keep for years. I will never have the opportunity to move back into my dream home if you put that big number 6 or even number 8 on my house that technically sleeps 12, although we only allow 10. I want to take it back to those questions for a second, though. How do we deal with problem homes, the majority of which were type 1? Has switched to how do we deal with type 2 STRs? Rather than can we do a deal with something to deal with the problem type 2s, we've switched to should we phase out type 2s? And now it's coming back, should we phase out type 2s has turned to when are we going to phase out type 2s? This means we went from how do we deal with the problem homes to when are we phasing out type 2s? I know the intention of this council was and is not to punish the vast majority of short-term rental owners that are operating within the law and supported by our neighbors. I know that's not your intention. I do believe that when we get to late nights like this, what happens on the dais is people bring a ton of different rules and a ton of different options to your plate, and you feel like you have to compromise. I'm here to say you do not have to compromise. Let's enforce the rules that are in place. The city council was not wrong in coming up with those rules. I don't feel like the fact that it's late and they're putting 50 things in front of you means you need to change your goal. This was and is still a simple issue, which still has a simple solution. Enforce the current ordinance. Don't compromise your goals by compromising simply because there are so many changes being put in front of you. And none of them are right, and none of them meet your ideal goals. Let's stick with what you originally set out to do and enforce the current rules.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and really thank you all for being here and hearing us this late at night. It's hard to talk. I'm sure it's hard to listen.